What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 249 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for September 5th, 2018. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. It's crazy to think that it's been almost a year now since we had done the grand 200th episode live here on YouTube. Went about 3 hours, something like that. Easily the longest hashtag I've ever done was the 200th episode. It was a mess at first, but it turned out to be a lot of fun. I haven't not done a live one since. I just don't have the time, and my current schedule doesn't really allow for it. Maybe at some point. I know next week is the 250th episode, but it is crazy, like I said, to think that that 200th episode was a mere year ago, and then I started this show over 5 years ago, and the time just flies by thanks to you fine folks and sending in your questions every single week. If you want to continue to do so, you can send in your question by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave your question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So without further ado, we'll get started here with Joe M. from YouTube. Are you excited for the NXT TV debut of the Forgotten Sons? I'm definitely excited to see them finally get an opportunity because I think Wesley Blake's a really good worker. I don't watch TNA, but I do know that you do since you review it for Next Day Wrestling all the time, cheap plug. So what did you think of, he wrote that, not me. So what did you think of Chad Lale? I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's how you pronounce his name, Chad Lale, I don't know, who was in TNA as Gunner, I believe. They changed his name again. His name is like something Jackson or Jackson something. That was his name for a few years. I think NXT signed him in, I think, 2016, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what to expect from these guys. I was never a Wesley Blake fan. I have said since the get-go of the Wesley Blake-Buddy Murphy tag team that Buddy Murphy was a breakout star waiting to happen, and look what happened. He showed up on 205 Live and has been fucking killing it ever since. He could be a month away from becoming the new Cruiserweight champion, so I'm glad to see Buddy Murphy's doing well. Wesley Blake never really impressed me. You said that he's a really good worker. I cannot remember a single standout performance that guy ever had, either on his own or in the tag team. Now, that being said, I never saw a standout Buddy Murphy match either before 205 Live, so I'm ready to be proven wrong, but I do think he's better off in a tag team scene. We really have not seen him since him and Buddy Murphy broke up about 2 years ago. That was fucking 2 years ago. This guy's not been on NXT TV, so I'm glad to see they're giving him another chance. I'm not all that optimistic. I don't know about the other guy. Oh, the other guy was, I think Steve Cutler, who was like the go-to jobber in NXT for a long-ass time. And so we have him, we have Wesley Blake, and as you mentioned, Chad, a.k.a. Gunner from TNA. I was never impressed with Gunner in TNA. He kind of got better towards the end. First of all, the name like fucking Gunner, you can only be so good. The guy was like fucking Create a Wrestler 2.0. He really did nothing for me in TNA. Maybe he's gotten better in NXT, but when I heard that NXT signed him, I was just thinking to myself, why? Like, he never really had that many memorable moments in TNA. I know that he teamed with James Storm for a while, and I think he had won one of the Feast or Fired briefcases for a world title shot. Had a match with Magnus, I believe. And that was about it. I really cannot remember much else that he did in TNA, to be honest with you. And I've been watching TNA for a decade now. So, again, we'll see. I'm not all that optimistic about the Forgotten Sons in NXT, but more tag teams, the better. But so far, I'm not really sure what to expect from those guys tonight on NXT TV. Joe's second question, what is the best and what is the worst movie of The Rock? Good question. I was thinking about doing a video about this at some point, like my top 5 favorite Rock movies, which I still might do at some point, or an article or whatever for Next Day Wrestling. There's a lot to pick from. The best movie he's ever been in, I think a lot of people are tempted to say Walking Tall or The Rundown or whatever those movies were. I know I had seen at least one of them because those were his early movies. He was pretty good back then. He's only gotten better as an actor in recent years, in my opinion. I personally, and not just because I'm a WWE fan, but I have largely enjoyed a lot of the movies that he's been in for the last 4 or 5 years. I didn't really watch many of the kids' movies, so I can't say those are the worst. Like The Game Plan, I did see that. Was it great? Absolutely not, but it's a kids' movie. It can only be so good. Journey to the Center of the Earth 2. I never saw it. I think I have it on DVD, actually, but I've never seen it. It was my brother, so I never really watched it. So yeah, I really can't call those movies the worst movies he's ever been in because I haven't seen them, and they're kids' movies. They can only be so good. So I'm only really going off the serious movies that he's done. Again, I don't have the full list in front of me, but based off the movies that I've seen with The Rock in recent years, the best, it's a tie, I think. I loved Central Intelligence. And when I say the best, I judge it off like who I went to go see the movie with, because obviously, again, I'm biased. I'm very biased. But if I go to see the movie with like a friend that is not a Rock fan or isn't a wrestling fan and they enjoyed the movie, that to me is a good reflection of how The Rock did in that film. So I watched Central Intelligence with my dad first on Father's Day a few years ago when it came out. Then again with my family just on the whole, like 6 or 7 months later when it came out on DVD and I got it for Christmas. And everyone really enjoyed it. I thought Kevin Hart and The Rock had great chemistry. So I love that movie. That might be, again, I don't know if it's the best. It wasn't remembered as a classic, but I still have people come up to me to this day when like Skyscraper came out. People are coming up to me and saying like, oh yeah, I really like The Rock. I loved him in, what was that movie? Central Intelligence? I'm like, yeah, I saw the movie. I liked it too. So again, I don't know if it's the best, but it's easily, I think, the best movie I've ever seen The Rock in. And it's got to be up there, too, with Jumanji. Jumanji did really, really well, which surprised me. I did not think it would. I don't think a lot of people thought it would do well. Just because it was a remake, and you can't really top what they did with Robin Williams. But they didn't copy the original Jumanji formula. They took it and made it something completely different. And the whole video game thing, again, on paper sounded so stupid. But they made it a comedy, and it was fucking funny as hell. Now, both of these movies have Kevin Hart in them, so maybe that goes to show that the best Rock movies are Rock and Kevin Hart movies because they have awesome chemistry together. But those are easily the best movies I've seen with The Rock. I liked Hercules. I liked San Andreas. Skyscraper was okay, but I liked San Andreas more. The worst movie of The Rock's that I've seen in recent years has got to be Baywatch. I liked all the others. Again, I tolerated a lot of those movies. Even Fast and the Furious. I mean, that's not really his movie. He had a kind of a low-key role in those movies. He didn't have like a small cameo, but he was a notable character, but that wasn't a Rock movie in my opinion. But the other movies I think are. Baywatch was fucking terrible. I thought it was okay. I thought it was somewhat entertaining, but it was so stupid. And again, a lot like with Jumanji, they try to take the formula of Baywatch and make it something different. Not really. They kind of copied the formula from 20, 30 years ago, and it didn't work. The movie was just fucking terrible. It wasn't funny, wasn't like sexy or anything like the original Baywatch show was. It was really missable. I think Zac Efron and The Rock had good chemistry. I love Alexandra Daddario. She was in that movie too. And I thought that movie had a really good cast, but it really just fell flat. I just did not enjoy that movie at all. So that's got to easily be the worst Rock movie I've ever seen, with the best being either Central Intelligence or Jumanji. Joe's third question: how excited are you on a scale from 1 to 10 for the Super Showdown in Melbourne? A 6 maybe? I'm really not that excited. Now, I will watch it. Not live, obviously. I think it airs at like 5 or 6 o'clock Eastern time that night, or that morning on a Saturday. I'm not getting up that early to watch it. I'll probably do what I did with the Beast in the East show, where I watched it when I got up. Now, granted, that was on the 4th of July. I wasn't getting up at fucking 5 o'clock on the 4th of July, but I watched it when I got up. I think that weekend it might be away, so I might not even be able to watch it live anyway until like the next day. But again, it's a lot like the Greatest Royal Rumble. I want to be excited for it, but that Saudi Arabia show really was not that good. It really wasn't. Like, it was a glorified house show. It had some good matches, but by and large, it was completely missable and served no purpose. The Rumble match fucking sucked. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns fucking sucked. John Cena and Triple H are one of the better matches all night, and that's kind of sad. The ladder match I thought was good on that show. I can't remember most of that card. I know there was no women on it. I know that for a fact. So that being said, I mean, I'm glad they're advertising matches in advance for the show that's not for another month. And they're getting Buddy Murphy on the card and the Iconics, all of whom are Australian natives. I think that's awesome. And it could be a good show, but it won't really matter, like, storyline-wise. Like, we have Hell in a Cell, like, in 2 weeks and a week and a half. And then we have Evolution right after that. Like, who cares? So about fucking Super Showdown and Triple H and The Undertaker for like the 100th time. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm glad they're building up the show and giving it proper hype and build and whatever, but as of now, I really don't care. I think it's going to be a good show, which is why I say 5 or a 6 on the scale from 1 to 10. I think it'll be entertaining to an extent, but I can't say, like, I'm so stoked for it. I think I'm more excited for Hell in a Cell than I am Super Showdown, and Evolution for that matter. And Joe's fourth question here. Although I believe the sky is the limit for Patrick Clark as a performer in WWE, do you think, given how badly many NXT talents have been botched on Raw and SmackDown, do you think a character like the Velveteen Dream has a limited shelf life on the main roster? You know, it's kind of scary. I can't say yes or no. I want to say yes, because I don't want to say that the main roster thrives solely off of characters, because, like, Kevin Owens really isn't like a character. He's just fucking Kevin Owens, and he's awesome, and he obviously has done really, really well. The last month or so notwithstanding, but by and large, over the last 3 years, Kevin Owens has been a star. But like Elias, take him for example, he was nothing in NXT. Absolutely nothing. Came to the main roster, and they pushed him to the moon. Like, he has yet to win a championship, but he is much more over and entertaining now on the main roster than he ever was in NXT. It was just the wrong scene for him. Now then again, No Way Jose is kind of a character, a one-dimensional character at that, but he has just been a glorified jobber on Raw. So, again, there's no real formula for whether you're going to be successful or not on the main roster. Shinsuke Nakamura, they haven't fucked him up, like they haven't botched him, but he should be a way bigger star than he is currently. I know he's the United States champion, but if he's never on the show, then who the fuck cares? The guy wasn't on SmackDown this week. He wasn't on SmackDown last week. How much does it really mean to be a champion if you're never on the fucking show? Isn't this the same guy who won the Rumble earlier this year? What about Asuka? I know she showed up on Tuesday, but, like, where the fuck was she before this past week? Facing Mandy Rose in dark matches before SmackDown. That's where. And the only reason I know that was because she wrestled in a dark match at the SmackDown that I went to right after SummerSlam a few weeks ago. But anyway, with Patrick Clark, I could see a character like him, Vince getting his hands on and fucking loving it. I could see either Vince loving it or hating it. I think he's going to really like it. But that's not to say that he's going to be pushed to the moon when he gets called up. Like, I know John Cena had a lot of heavy praise for him in some interview that he did or some panel or whatever a few months ago. He's like, out of Ricochet, Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, I would love to face the Velveteen Dream the most. So I think that's a great reflection of what most people think of Velveteen Dream. The guy is really, really good. I think Patrick Clark's a great in-ring performer. He's got the character down pat. So again, I don't know what to expect. I'd really rather just have him stay down in NXT for the foreseeable future. I know he wrote on his tights at TakeOver, "Call me up, Vince," and I think we all said in unison, no. Stay right where you are in NXT. You know, like that scene from, Billy Madison, when he goes back to the high school to go visit the kids, and they ask him, like, "Oh, how's high school, Billy?" They even say, like, high school, not high school, because they have no idea what they're talking about. It's like that little chubby kid. He goes, "Oh, how's high school, Billy?" And he goes, he's like, "Oh, I wish I could be in high school, Billy." "Don't you ever say that. Stay right where you are. Stay right where you're safe. Stay here where it's safe," or whatever the line was. It's so funny where we're like, he takes his chubby cheeks and starts like shaking the kid. That's what I think of when I think of like people wanting to get called up. Stay right where you are. Don't fucking go anywhere. Stay in NXT. Stay on the indies. It's always cool to see people get called up, but it's like, you never know nowadays whether they're going to be utilized the right way or the wrong way. Look at the Iconics. They're fucking terrible on the main roster. Don't give me this whole, like, I know people have said, "Oh, I like their promos, they're entertaining." Their promos are terrible. No me. What the fuck was that on SmackDown this week? Terrible. Their promos weren't knocking it out of the park in NXT. I don't know, I thought they were positioned more as threats in NXT, which is saying something, because they were kind of losers down there too. But they had more competitive matches with Asuka than they have with anyone else on SmackDown. They've really been positioned as a bunch of losers. The Iconics got called up and fucking flopped. Sanity, my God, who the fuck could possibly care about Sanity at this point? They came up with a little buzz, squandered it within 2 weeks. And now no one cares. They're just another act on the main roster. Like, what? I don't know why anyone expects this guy to do extremely well, or how can they not fuck up that guy? How can they not? How can they not fuck up that guy? You know, I think we all said the same thing about Finn Balor. The guy's a bona fide star. How can they possibly fuck up this guy? And look at that, they did. He's not, like, on main event every week, but lost to Baron Corbin last week. Didn't he lose this week, too? He lost a match this week to fucking, Braun Strowman. Lost to Roman Reigns 2 weeks ago. Again, they don't know how to book fucking people. They really don't know how to book people properly. That's the issue. Hopefully Velveteen Dream can stay in NXT for as long as he possibly fucking can. Captain Sunshine from YouTube, their first question was, I watched All In, admittedly out of a feeling of obligation and coming in kind of ready for the cynical parts of my brain to pick apart the big indie pay-per-view everyone else was going to love. But no, it was actually the most refreshing wrestling-related experience I've had all year. Honestly, I personally call it Show of the Year, just for the fact they managed to get 10,000 people, who were mostly there because they loved the Young Bucks and their YouTube show, losing their minds for the ebb and flow of an NWA World Heavyweight Championship match in 2018. I thought NXT TakeOver 4 was broad with its... Or Brooklyn 4, I think is what you meant. I thought NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 was broad with its wrestling, but All In had a little bit of everything, which is great, and why I'm hoping for All In too, so we can finally get the big league alternative brand going, because NXT is also great, but it's developmental nature, which also means it can never truly be relied on for that front. Was All In the best pay-per-view of 2018, or was All In the best pay-per-view of 2018? Okay, pay-per-view, yeah, probably. There's no WWE show this year that I thought was better than All In. Okay, my quick thoughts on All In, I'll do a full-on review in Wrestle Rant Radio on Thursday on iTunes and Next Day Wrestling. My full written review has been up for a couple days now on the website, nextdaywrestling.net, so you can check it out there. It was not the most amazing show I've ever seen. It wasn't. It wasn't terrible. I liked it. I really, really liked it. I thought it was a great show. I can't call it the show of the year. I really can't. Maybe the most significant because of what they managed to do. It's the biggest indie show of the year. And it was a really, really fun show. It had a lot of great matches. It was by no means perfect. But I would give it like an 8 out of 10, quite honestly, which is, again, not perfect, but really, really good. Better than most, if not every WWE pay-per-view I've seen this year. That's not a question. I think it is. I really can't think of a better pay-per-view that WWE's had this year than that one. Now, I don't watch New Japan. I didn't watch all of Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year. I didn't watch all of Dominion. I'm sure those were better shows on the whole than this one. I thought NXT TakeOver New Orleans was better than All In, but for different reasons. I think for All In to really appreciate the show, you had to have watched Being the Elite, which I did, which is why I really, really like the show. Like the penis stuff and the Joey Ryan shit, the Jay Lethal stuff, really everything on that front, Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis. All that stuff was built up on 10 Pounds of Gold, but most importantly, Being the Elite. If you didn't watch the show, you're probably like, what the hell am I watching right now? But still, it was a great wrestling show just alone, even without the Being the Elite stuff. So, okay, best pay-per-view, I guess, was... New Japan's not really a pay-per-view. I mean, it's a show. It's on New Japan World. Is it on pay-per-view there? I have no clue. But, I can't speak to the New Japan shows. No WWE show is better than All In this year. I can definitely tell you that. TakeOver, it was better than Brooklyn 4. I will give you that. And I was at Brooklyn. It wasn't better than New Orleans. New Orleans is still the best TakeOver I've ever seen. And it was definitely better than All In by like a country mile. But still, All In was a lot of fun. And like you said, it did have a little bit of everything, which is why I loved it too. They did sports entertainment better than fucking WWE does. With the NWA World Title stuff and just the dumbass shit with Joey Ryan, which some people hated, some people loved. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I don't know. I can't call it the show of the year, but pay-per-view, I guess, because TakeOver is not really a pay-per-view. So, yeah, I guess you're right in that respect, but I did think TakeOver New Orleans was better. But I still did really, really enjoy All In, and I do hope they can have an All In too. Now, is it really a brand? No, it's not. You said it's going to be, you hope for it to be the big league alternative brand to WWE. It's not a brand. It's like it's like WrestleCon. It's like calling Joey Janela's Spring Break a brand. It's not. Like they hold the show 2 or 3 times a year. It's not really a brand. Now, NXT has a few takeovers a year, but they have their weekly show. All In is not a weekly show. Being the Elite is, but it's not your show. It's not your typical wrestling show. There's no fucking wrestling on the show. It's not really a brand. It is an alternative. Now, I will disagree with the brand part, but it is an alternative. It always has been. The Young Bucks, the Bullet Club, they are a brand in and of themselves that they put out that is opposite of WWE. And it's not fuck WWE. Now, they bring up stuff from WWE like fuck the Revival and shit, which is funny. Like they used to. They don't really do it anymore. The Revival really isn't as relevant as they used to be. But I do think it's great. It's a great alternative for those that don't watch Raw. Like when they put up the new Being the Elites on Monday nights during Raw, that's not by accident. They do that on purpose for those people that are not watching Raw, and it does really, really well. The show does. So again, I don't know if it can really be a brand, like All In can be a brand. I don't think so. I'd rather not see it turn into like a weekly thing. I think it was special because it was a one-night-only event. Now, if they do a sequel, that's a different story. We'll see. I kind of look at the MSG show as kind of like All In too, because really, how is it going to be much different? Omega's likely going to be there, the entire Bullet Club, Okada. Just throw in Tanahashi and like Ibushi was on the fucking All In show, like... It's pretty much going to be All In too. That MSG show over WrestleMania weekend is essentially what it is without Impact guys on the card. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and I did think All In was a great show. Captain Sunshine's second question here. Speaking of the Young Bucks YouTube show, I don't remember if you follow Being the Elite yourself, but could you believe a bunch of wrestlers made a show on the internet so popular it brought multiple wrestling promotions together under the banner of a t-shirt store and sell out a 10,000-seat arena in Chicago, and not only that, pay off every single angle on the YouTube show. I can't even count on WrestleMania paying off angles anymore. WWE set up the month before WrestleMania, and these dudes made 120 episodes of a show with an actual big box office payoff. Yeah, again, that cannot be said enough. It should not be understated at all that this show really was... It really was huge. I mean, they took a show on fucking YouTube. They built up storylines on that show and got people excited for the event and paid off every single angle on their one show. Their biggest event to date with the inaugural All In. Everything. The Jay Lethal stuff, the SCU stuff, everything. They really did do a great job of, paying off every single angle. The Stephen Amell stuff, Joey Janela or the Adam Page and Joey Ryan stuff, everything. So again, that cannot be... They really should be commended to the fucking heavens for what they did with All In and everything else going into it. Because it really is unfathomable to think that this stable, that's not WWE, that's the biggest thing outside of WWE, took something and made it bigger than most WWE shows. That's pretty fucking insane. So, again, they deserve all the praise in the world for that. And as I mentioned earlier, yes, I do follow Being the Elite, and I love the show. The third question, also from Captain Sunshine. Anyway, I just wanted to praise All In and say something positive about the current landscape of pro wrestling because I saw Raw, and goddamn, that was one of the worst, incomprehensible episodes I've seen. Like, I know if I keep going, I'll just ramble forever about why everything makes my head hurt, so I'll just ask one thing. Why is Braun Strowman, this is all in caps by the way, this last part, why is Braun Strowman 1/3 of a mid-card heel stable whom cut long opening promos and need the evil GM to orchestrate pull-apart brawls so they can run away? I don't know. I really don't. Monday's show was really a head-scratcher. I thought they did some good stuff, some really weird stuff, and just a lot of strange stuff. This being one of them, the new Alliance faction with every fucking heel on the roster. Ooh, Mike Kanellis, I'm scared. Like, who cares? The Braun Strowman stuff, I talked about it last week. It's fucking stupid. It was confirmed on Raw. And I said last week, we'll see if it's a heel turn. It is. It's a heel turn. I was trying to be optimistic and say maybe it's not. It is. He made it pretty clear on Raw that he's a full-fledged heel, and I cannot stress how dumb that is. To turn Braun Strowman heel, one of your most organically over baby faces in the entire company. Let's turn him heel to get Roman cheered. Like, fuck you. That's so stupid. Beyond dumb. Beyond dumb. Yeah, I really won't say much more than that. I just thought it was a really dumb thing that they did. The Shield getting beat down. Like, been there, done that. I don't really care about it. Fucking Authors of Pain and Drew Gulak attacking Roman Reigns. Like, oh, yay, I'm so compelled. Like, Baron Corbin is the Raw heel GM. Again, who the fuck cares? Who cares? It's the same bullshit that we go through every fucking fall on Raw. The same thing happened 5 years ago when we had the Authority. Dude, the same thing. Every fucking year this happens. Where some great angle closes out the summer and people get all excited for the fall season, and then it just turns out to be a red herring, and then we get the fucking heel Authority figure bullshit. 5 years ago, we got the debut of the Authority. Randy Orton goes heel, Triple H goes heel. Great angle. They followed up with Daniel Bryan being in handicap matches every week from that point forward. Again, who cares? a couple years ago when Kevin Owens won the championship in shocking fashion, when Triple H came back, helped Kevin Owens win the belt. Amazing ending. And then what happened? Triple H disappears, and Stephanie and Kevin Owens are bullying Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Same shit, different week. Happens every fucking year with Monday Night Raw. It's like the fall season is like their heel season with the heel authority figures. Like, again, who cares? Nobody cares. Anyway, moving on. Mark S. from Facebook, his first question was, do you think there's a chance that all the matches in Evolution might become Legends versus present roster? And if that happened, how would you feel about it? It's not going to be. It won't be. I know the last two matches... Well, I know Mickey's current, but she is kind of past, too. I mean, her and Lita have had their fair share of matches over the past, dozen years or so. I know Trish and Bliss is like a current, present versus past matchup. And I like that formula. I like the past and present mix. You can't do that for the title matches. Every championship, all the women's titles are being defended. Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and we're getting the finals of the Mae Young Classic. So how are you going to have past in there as well? Like, for Caitlyn on the finals? Like, who cares? So no, that won't happen for every match. You obviously need to have some current women versus current women, like Charlotte and Becky, or Ronda and Nikki. I know they're setting that up. It does nothing for me. I've said that before, but I can kind of see that being past versus present. NXT would have to be past versus present. I mean, Kairi Sane, I guess you could have her defend the title against, I don't know, some woman from yesteryear, but I'd rather see like Kairi Sane and Baszler 2, or Kairi Sane and Candice LeRae, or I don't know, something along those lines, because the championship has to be defended. That's what the company said when they first announced the event. But so far, the build has been lackluster. I talked about this in an article up right now for Daily DDT, that they announced matches out of nowhere. Like, I had no idea Lita versus Mickie James was added to the card until like Tuesday morning. I didn't watch Raw, and I stayed off social media, but they had mentioned nothing about it on Raw. Unless I'm mistaken, they never mentioned Lita and Mickie was added to Evolution. That's kind of a big deal. Lita's first real singles match back, not counting the Raw 1000 bullshit with Heath Slater. Her first real singles match back in like a dozen years, and it gets announced on Twitter before Raw? Like, what the fuck are you doing? They could have had Mickie out there, had Lita come out, and have the two brawl, and it's like they're facing off at Evolution. Like, that would be smart and actually logical, but they didn't do that. Anyway, Mark's second question here. Any further idea about who could have attacked Aleister Black? And if you were booking it, who would you pick? I think I talked about this before. Johnny Gargano, people are saying, could have attacked Aleister to turn him heel. I don't really want to see that. I guess I could see that as Johnny's or Aleister's last real program before he gets called up with Johnny Gargano, because they had their match. It kind of ended in a no contest a few weeks ago. So we can have that one last real feud for Aleister before he gets the call up. If it's not Johnny, and I wouldn't make it Johnny Gargano. I know the Solomon Monster said Cassius Ohno. I like that idea a lot. Cassius Ohno, Tommaso Ciampa's pretty obvious. I wouldn't mind if it was him. I think it's obvious, but he did beat Aleister for the belt. He did beat Black for the belt to begin with, so it wouldn't be illogical that if he attacked Aleister Black and to get him out of his title match at Brooklyn. So I can see that being the case too. If none of those people, I really don't know. I mean, maybe EC3 just to turn him heel or something. I don't know. Velveteen Dream, been there, done that. So I'm not really sure, but right now I'll go with Tommaso Ciampa. People are saying Gargano. I think it might be. I wouldn't turn the guy heel, but Tommaso Ciampa would be a fine choice. Given your knowledge of wrestling promotions, which competitors should wrestling fans be looking out for in the Mae Young Classic? Yes, it does premiere tonight. I'm looking forward to it. I will be reviewing it for nextairwrestling.net, so stay tuned for that. But, there's a number of women I'm looking forward to seeing again, and just for the first time in general. A lot of these women I already know from last year and just other promotions. Toni Storm, she was in it last year. She's a standout. She's an absolute star. She was is a part of the UK NXT Women's Division. So if you watched the UK special from a few months ago, you know Toni Storm. She's great. Maya Yim was in last year's tourney as well. She's really, really good. I was shocked when she didn't get offered a contract by WWE coming out of the last year's Mae Young Classic. I think she's awesome. Hopefully she does get signed this time. Madison Rayne, I think you guys all know her from Impact and Ring of Honor. Never been in WWE before, but I'm looking forward to seeing how she does. Caitlyn, obviously you guys know who Caitlyn is. I'm not expecting a standout performance from her, but it'll be cool to see her back. Io Shirai from, I think, Stardom, I want to say, coming from the same promotion that Kairi Sane came from. I heard that she's amazing. She was going to be a part of last year's tourney, but they rescinded her offer because she got injured or she had a neck injury, and they ended up clearing that issue up, and now she's back, or she's in WWE now. She got signed, so I think she could be a real player in that division. And Rhea Ripley was also in last year's Mae Young Classic. She did really, really well for herself. For a complete unknown, I had no idea who she was, but she's a really pretty girl, very young, like 20, 21 years old. She's completely reinvented herself from last year. She's like got the badass gimmick going on for herself. She's going to be one to watch as well, not only in the Mae Young Classic, but just in general in NXT going forward. But yeah, those are some women I'm looking forward to seeing again and for the first time in the Mae Young Classic. Should be a great tournament, even better than last year. I really enjoyed last year's. This year should be even better. Next question, also from Mark. Is there any specific match that you would be interested in seeing any of the NXT female wrestlers be involved in at Evolution? Not really. I mean, like I said, the NXT Women's Championship will be defended. I think that's the only real NXT match you need. I mean, you could put the NXT Women in the fucking Battle Royal that they're bound to have or something. But other than that, Sane and Baszler Part 2, or Sane and LeRae would be fine at that. That would make sense. I could see them going in that direction. I'm trying to think, like, I could see Belair, maybe. Belair would be pretty cool to see. I mean, again, I don't see, like, an NXT woman facing a main roster woman or someone from the past. I guess that could happen. I don't see it happening. I just see the NXT Women's Championship match happening. And then whatever women are left being a part of, like, some big battle royal. I mean, it would be cool, but I see this event being more focused on the women of Raw and SmackDown, and some women from the past also, obviously, as well. So we'll see. But no real match stands out. Like, Sane and Asuka would be fucking amazing. I don't see that happening. I mean, I guess you could do it for the NXT Women's title, because Asuka never really lost the title. So honestly, that would kind of make a little bit of sense. But I don't know if they want to have... Like, having Asuka show up in NXT before Evolution would be pretty fucking cool to build that match up. But I don't see it happening. That's just purely fantasy booking on my part. And Mark's last question here. Becky Lynch says that she wants to fight Charlotte inside Hell in the Cell. What are your thoughts about that, good or bad? We already had the match announced for Hell in the Cell, Becky and Charlotte for the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. I would not put it inside the Cell. Now, I know it would be a great match inside the Cell, probably even better than Charlotte and Sasha from a few years ago, but the feud just started. I know, like, Roman and Braun is inside Hell in the Cell, but you can kind of keep out the interference that way, and they also had a long series of matches last year. I know Becky and Charlotte also have history dating back to 2016. It's way too early in this version of the feud to do a Hell in the Cell match. So I'm glad they're not doing it. It would be pretty ridiculous if they put Becky and Charlotte inside the Cell before Joe and AJ, who deserve it much more. Now, Becky and Charlotte is just getting started. Joe and AJ's been going on since late July. They need the stipulation. They need the structure a lot more than Becky and Charlotte do. They can always get a stip down the road. You know what? I would be all in on a women's ladder match. I know we get Money in the Bank every year, but like a true one-on-one women's ladder match in NXT. At the TLC pay-per-view, which I think is sticking around. I think it's coming around in December. So, yeah, Charlotte and Becky at TLC in December for the SmackDown Women's title, I think could be fucking awesome. Just throwing that out there right now. That could be the real feud ender, not just another match in the feud, you know? Just, oh, here comes Iron Man, and we'll continue the feud the next night on Raw. Like, that's stupid. I would rather have it end the feud at TLC later this year in a ladder match, if not a TLC match. Muhammad D from Facebook. Take a look at the photo below. Basically, what the photo says is Marty Scurll is the only member of Bullet Club to lose it All In, not being mentioned on the post-show celebratory message when All In went off the air, and not mentioned his name during Cody's message there. Is this potentially teasing something huge for Marty Scurll coming out of All In? Also, do you see this as a potential build-up for a storyline about the tension tease between Scurll and the Bullet Club? Yeah, I didn't really pick up on the fact that Scurll is the only one that lost. But then again, I expected him to be the only one that would lose on that show. Kenny Omega was not going to lose. He's the IWGP champion. Cody was not going to lose his NWA World Heavyweight Championship match. The Young Bucks were in the main event against three randos. I love Rey Mysterio, I love Phoenix, but they're not a true trio. The Golden Elite are, so they won. Adam Page being Joey Janela is pretty obvious. So again, it wasn't really a shocker that Marty was the only one that lost. He lost to Okada. Like, I didn't expect him to, no one expected him to beat Okada. So again, I thought it was, I don't know if it was done on purpose. I don't think so. As for the tension teased, I think the only reason I read that he didn't come out at the end was because he kind of felt bad coming out after taking up so much time with his match with Okada. Again, I don't know how true that is. I don't know Marty Scurll on a personal level. He never told me that. I'm just assuming, I'm speculating here. That's what we fans do. So I assume that's the reason why he did not come out at the end, was because of the Okada thing and the fact that his time went long. They're not kicking him out of Bullet Club. The fact that when they talk about, like, oh, I don't know where we're going to go next, the Marty Scurll, I think, is locked up for the next 6 months. 6 months. So wherever they go, I think their contracts expire way before Marty Scurll's does. So they could all go to WWE before Marty. Or they could wait, I don't know. But I don't think any of them going to WWE anyway, to be honest with you. I think Cody's staying right where he is. I think the Young Bucks are staying right where they are. Kenny Omega is staying right where he is. Adam Page is staying right where he is. Marty Scurll too. I wouldn't read too much into that. I know he didn't come out at the end, but it might have been because of the Okada thing. I can't think of another reason why he wouldn't come out at the end there. His second question: do you think August has been the worst month for heel and face turns? This is the question I came up with, as we see Braun Strowman was turned heel last week on Raw, even though he had been built up to be a lovable monster babyface that fans backed up for some time. Becky Lynch supposedly turned heel on Charlotte on SmackDown Live, even though her intention had made a lot of people backing her, backing up and cheered Becky more than Charlotte. That made the creative team confused. And even in Impact Wrestling, when Moose, one of the most beloved baby faces in the company, turned heel last week in joining Austin Aries at Redefined, that made a lot of fans confused on why he did that. The Moose thing didn't really bother me. Moose is a better babyface. The whole, like, Moose, like, that's a big babyface thing. So I think it works better as a babyface than as a heel. And he was over, but how much further can you go with Moose? The guy lost the world title match at Slammiversary. He lost to the top heel, Austin Aries. There really wasn't much more he could do. So turning him heel, I don't know about the Aries and Moose alliance after they feuded for like 3 months, but we'll see where it goes. Turning him heel is at least something new for him. We'll see how well he does in the role. The Braun and Becky things I just thought were ridiculous. The Becky thing, the thing with Becky is that she still gets really, really cheered. With Braun, he got a super flat reaction on Raw this week. A very flat reaction. Maybe because people don't want to boo the Shield, and they don't want to boo Braun, so they just give him no reaction. It was pretty alarming, to be honest with you. With Braun Strowman, he got like no reaction this week because people don't want to boo him, but they can't cheer him now either. So like, what the fuck do? You ruin any momentum that he had, which I think is ridiculous. So the Braun thing is more offensive. The Becky thing, at least she's making the most of it. She's still getting big reactions, even more so than Charlotte. So the Braun and Becky turns were really stupid, and they're both miscast as characters right now, even though they were organically over as baby faces. I wouldn't be shocked if they turned AJ next, just because he's so over as a face, and no one can be more over than Roman, God forbid. But yeah, I could see where you're coming from with the Becky and Braun turns. The Moose thing was like, I didn't see it as being that big of a deal. His next question: do you agree with my idea that DIY will reunite his heels once it is revealed that Johnny Gargano is the one who attacked Aleister Black? Do you think my storyline idea there will be compelling enough for the fans in the Gargano and Ciampa storyline? Like I said earlier, I could see it happening. I wouldn't do that. It would be interesting, but I mean, I guess you can't go back to another Gargano-Ciampa like match anytime soon, like a one-on-one match. At the same time, though, they've been feuding for like a year and a half. To turn Gargano heel and to join up with Ciampa, like if you can't beat him, join him, I guess it would be something different. I don't know if NXT would be... I don't think they'd be ballsy enough to do that, and I don't think they should. I don't know if they'd be dumb enough to do that. It's not an awful idea, depending on how they book it, because Gargano plays the excuse me, I'm falling all over my words here. Gargano plays the conflicted character well. I think he does a great job with the role that he's currently in as a babyface who's on the fence about what he should do. He has these inner demons in regards to Ciampa and the NXT Championship and now the Aleister Black thing. I still would not turn him heel. I think he should end his NXT run as a babyface. I wouldn't turn him heel. At Reborn Again from Twitter, do you think any potential match of the year candidates happen at All In? If so, what match or matches would you put on that list? Also, was there anything on that show that you did not like? On match of the year candidates at All In, the only one that came to mind was, I thought Skrull and Okada was good. I didn't think it was match of the year at all. It was kind of boring, to be honest with you, for the first part of it, but I thought it was very good towards the end. Easily the match of the night was Pentagon and Kenny Omega. Easily. I don't know if it was the match of the year, but I thought it was an amazing match. You know, I would put it on the match of the year list. Maybe not at the very top, but maybe at like top 10, maybe at the number 10 spot or top 15. It would be up there. I don't watch New Japan. I'm sure there's been way better New Japan matches, but I thought Omega and Pentagon was a great match. So I would put that on there. Anything on the show that I didn't like? Not really. I thought Matt Cross and MJF, I thought it was a good opener. Completely pointless. Considering they went overtime, that match did not need to happen. I love Son of Havoc, aka Matt Cross. MJF, I have no clue who he is. He impressed me. The match really had no crowd. It didn't serve a purpose. It was completely pointless. A lot of people maybe are expecting me to say the Joey Ryan stuff, and some people hated it. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was so stupid that I thought it was great. Like the Sausage Party movie is so dumb that it's funny. Now, there are also cases where it's like, it's so dumb, it's dumb. Like, I have yet to see Happy Time Murders, and I love the Muppets, but that looks dumb as fuck. So, Sausage Party was dumb as fuck too, and it made your brain hurt about how dumb it was and how stupid it was. But I thought it was entertaining. And I thought the Joey Ryan stuff, especially for all the build that it's gotten, was entertaining too. Something that you would never see in WWE. And if you probably saw it on Raw, people would complain about it, so I do see the double standards there. But I don't know, it had build, it made sense. I thought it was ridiculous, but they could only really make it work with the two guys they had involved. Anyway, beyond that, there really wasn't anything I hated on the show at all. Even the length, I didn't really mind, just because I skipped over some stuff, not many matches, but like quick entrances I skipped over when I was watching it on replay later that night and the next morning. Beyond that, I really, really liked the show. Nothing offensive, nearly as offensive as sometimes as we see on the WWE pay-per-views. Now, that's a big accomplishment. John's second question here. Regarding this week's Raw, do you think WWE would actually go forward with Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 35? And if so, would you want to see it? No, I don't. Now, it was the best part of the entire show. Easily. Raw this week was a very weird-ass show. Someone had said, I don't know if it was one of the worst episodes I've ever seen. I wouldn't go that far. But I thought the Michaels and Taker segment was great. It was unexpected. I thought the verbiage and the back and forth on the mic I thought was awesome. They got people talking. That being said, what they're building to, I'm not a fan of. I'm not saying they are going to do it, but there's a good chance they might. Shawn Michaels, not even him and Taker. I just don't want Shawn Michaels to wrestle again, period. I really just don't see the point. Even if it was against AJ Styles, or a Samoa Joe, or a Daniel Bryan, or Seth Rollins, what is it even really accomplishing? Putting over those guys, they don't need to win over Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels has said it before, I don't know why people are getting their hopes up. The guy's 8 years older than he was back in 2010 when he retired. He probably cannot go at 3/4 of the pace that he used to. It's not going to be the Shawn Michaels of old. Now, he's still in great shape, but the guy's been out of the ring now for almost a fucking decade. It's not going to be the same Shawn Michaels. Now, I know people clamor for another Stone Cold match, but Stone Cold was never really known for his in-ring acumen. You know, he was really just a Stone Cold character that people really want to see. Shawn Michaels, he would have to be at 120%. And it's very likely that he would not be at 120% if he was to return to the ring, let alone against Undertaker, who has looked like shit now in the ring for almost 2 years. And don't tell me otherwise. The match with John Cena was fucking 2 minutes long, people. It was 2 minutes long. Of course it was entertaining. It was a fucking squash. The match with Rusev was, it was mediocre. The match with Roman Reigns sucked. It was terrible. The match that his showing in the Rumble last January, in January 2017, sucked. The guy, Undertaker, even more so than Michaels, is 8 years older. The two matches they had were regarded as two of the greatest of all time. Why would you squander that by having them go in there and have a quarter of good of a match as they did 10 years ago? I think that would be fucking stupid. So I wouldn't even put Michaels back in the ring, period, for anything. Anything. Like a singles match, a tag team with DX, no thanks. Let alone a match with Taker. I just think it has disaster written all over it. And John's third question here. What in the world was Raw Columbus? It was like Creative took a bunch of acid or watched the later WCW Nitro episodes and said, "Oh, that's terrible. Well, we can make it worse." Am I the only one who thought this? Because some of the segments matches confused me. Yeah, again, I don't know if it was an awful show. It definitely was not a good show. It really wasn't. It was kind of a bad show, but it wasn't the worst episode I've ever seen. Because some things I like. I like that they put the tag titles on Drew and Dolph. I really did not care about the B team at all. So I'm glad they did that. The Drake Maverick thing was beyond weird. I don't know if I'm a fan of that at all, but it has promise. The Bobby Roode and Chad Gable thing, very strange, confusing, but I'm a fan of it. I like their tag team. I think it's something for them to do, which is exactly what they need right now. So I like it. Beyond that, the Braun Strowman stuff I thought was terrible. The Bobby Lashley and Jinder stuff was terrible. Kevin Owens coming back was terrible. Anything with Baron Corbin was terrible. Kevin Owens coming back a week after he quit was really what was terrible, not Kevin Owens himself. Yeah, it was a very weird show. Very strange show. That's just a weird state that Raw is in right now, and SmackDown is always consistently better. At RyCoach27 from Twitter, did you watch All In? What are your thoughts? What was your favorite part? If you watched it, of course. I personally thought that it was an amazing show. Absolutely lived up to expectations. Joey Ryan's return from the dead with the penis druids was absolutely my favorite part. Yes, so I did watch All In. I liked the show a lot. I thought it was a great show. I don't know if it was amazing. I think it's amazing what it did for wrestling. The show itself I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was a fantastic show. 8 out of 10, like I said. Not a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10, but 8 out of 10 I think is very generous. Favorite part, like I said, Omega and Pentagon was probably my favorite part. And Jericho showing up, so I guess that kind of ties into it because that happened afterward. So that was my favorite part. The Joey Ryan stuff, again, it's funny to say that was your favorite part. A lot of people hated that. I thought it was funny as fuck. I thought it was hilarious. I was dying. The Black Machismo thing, too, with Jay Lethal, I thought was also really good. I thought that was well done. I was entertained by that thoroughly. Lanny Poffo showing up. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It definitely lived up, if not exceeded my expectations. I don't know if exceeded my expectations, but it definitely lived up to my expectations. Did not disappoint at all. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, between Chad Gable and Bobby Roode becoming a tag team, Drake becoming Authors of Pain manager, and the Alliance to end the Shield, what was the weirdest part of Raw? Between those three things, definitely Drake Maverick becoming Authors of Pain's manager. That was weird. Easily the weirdest thing. Gable and Roode was strange. I think it could work. The Shield getting attacked by every heel on the roster, been there, done that. It's not out of the ordinary. The Drake Maverick as a mouthpiece for Authors of Pain was definitely weird. Now they do need a mouthpiece, but what the fuck is Paul Ellering doing? Is he too old or something? Like, it was not his decision to get taken off TV. It was WWE's decision to take him off of TV with the Authors of Pain. He was a fine-ass choice for the Authors of Pain manager mouthpiece. I'm not really sure why they opted to take him away from the act. Drake Maverick's great. I'm glad he's on Raw, but he's also doing a great job as 205 Live GM. Now he can still do that. He was still on the show on Tuesday night. I don't know, it was a very weird choice, because I like Drake Maverick. He's a babyface on 205 Live, but now he's supposed to be a heel on Raw. I just find it to be very strange. So that was easily the weirdest part of Raw for me. His second question, thoughts on Carmella possibly being turned face and paired with R-Truth. Now, they're just doing the pairing for the Mixed Match Challenge. I don't know if it's going to be permanent. They announced it on Tuesday, which is why they did the Carmella R-Truth thing starting on Tuesday. Now, that's been building for a while now, the whole R-Truth comedy shit. But the reason they officially kicked it off on Tuesday was because of the Mixed Match Challenge. Now, Carmella is a much better heel. I thought she was a fine, hype-up girl for Enzo and Cass in NXT. I don't know. I just think she's a better heel. I'm not a big Carmella fan anyway, but you know what? Why the fuck not? she's not going to be doing anything regardless, so she might as well be turned face or somewhat face. Still have the same bitchy character, but be positioned as a face and do something with R-Truth, who has not done anything in like 5 years. Why the hell not? I don't see anything wrong with that. And, I think with Carmella, again, she had her time in the SmackDown Women's Championship picture. It ended. You got to do something with her. And they just turned Becky. They have like no faces on SmackDown. They have Charlotte, Asuka, Naomi. That's it. And Lana, technically. That's in comparison to Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, obviously, those 4, Becky Lynch, and Carmella, and Zelina Vega. That's like 7 women to 4. 7 heel women to 4 babyface women, not including Paige, who doesn't wrestle. So I don't really, and Carmella, like I said. So I would, I don't know. I don't understand why they can't experiment with Carmella as a heel. I don't see anything wrong with it. We'll see where it goes. I thought what they did on Tuesday was fine. I don't love it, but it's fine. After seeing Drew Gulak attack Roman Reigns with Authors of Pain, it really had me thinking, would he have been the perfect choice as AOP's mouthpiece? Yes, but I like what Drew Gulak is doing on 205 Live. So if you make him the mouthpiece, he can't wrestle. Now, Drake Maverick doesn't wrestle anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Drew Gulak does wrestle. And I guess he could if he was a mouthpiece, but I see the mouthpiece being more of a side act, of like the background player, than the actual like meat of the group. That is the Authors of Pain. So I like that idea a lot. I think they have good chemistry, but at the same time, it would take Drew Gulak largely probably off of 205 Live, and he wouldn't be wrestling as much anymore. And that's kind of his strong suit. Now, he's a great talker, so it wouldn't have been a bad choice, but I like Drake Maverick more because you're not really missing out on anything. He's still going to be on 205 Live, presumably. And he doesn't wrestle in WWE anyway, for the most part. I don't think he's wrestled at all. Now, he was a wrestler in TNA, but he wasn't an amazing in-ring competitor to begin with. So, again, it doesn't really matter if they take him off the show or not. Take him out of the ring because he's not in the ring to begin with. So, I like Drake Maverick. We'll see. It might grow on me. Drew Gulak would not have been a bad choice, but I just fear that if they did it, it would have taken him out of the ring. At NJWade_, my brother Noah, his question was, will you be attending SummerSlam or TakeOver in Toronto next year? Possibly with a friend who has said many, many times that he would really, really want to go to Toronto. Noah, my man, I'm going. I'm not sure who I'm going with yet, but I'm going to NXT. I'm going to SummerSlam. It's not for another year. We'll book our tickets. I have yet to do anything related to WrestleMania, which is coming up first. So we'll worry about WrestleMania first, and I'll likely see you in Toronto for SummerSlam weekend. Probably the whole weekend. I don't think I'll just go to SummerSlam. I'll definitely go to TakeOver too. I'll probably go to SummerSlam. I think it'd be fun. I've been to SummerSlam twice now. I think it'd be fun to go for a third time in Toronto. But yeah, I've never been to a wrestling show in Canada. Next year would be a lot of fun. At Call Me PSN 100 from Twitter. Right now, what would you rate the current state of Raw 1 out of 10? This includes interesting wrestlers, matches, and storytelling. 5 maybe? 4 or 5? I mean, there is some stuff I like. I like the Shield, but Braun Strowman being turned heel does nothing for me. The B Team does nothing for me. Now, they just lost the tag titles. Bayley and Sasha, I could not give 2 shits about right now. I like the Riot Squad. The Bella Twins being back, do not give 2 shits about that. The Ronda stuff is good. Baron Corbin is a Raw heel GM. Could not give 2 shits about that. I'm trying to think what the Kevin Owens shit. The Kim quitting, coming back. Who cares? Bobby Lashley, who cares right now? Jinder Mahal, who cares? So yeah, probably, I think 5 is being generous, if not a 4. Definitely, it's not high at all. Let's be honest. There's not even any great matches on Raw nowadays either. Like, it'd be one thing if there was a lot of good matches with no real compelling feuds. Yeah, we had a great Rollins and Owens match, but by and large, there's not... What, Baron Corbin and Finn Balor for the millionth time? Give me a fucking break. Like, give me real wrestling and give me real interesting characters. The Shield is cool and all, but when you fucking turn Braun Strowman heel to get Roman Reigns cheered, there's a problem there. At the Colin Ginter, from Twitter, he's got 2 questions. First question being, is the fact that Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, the fact that they were the most interesting segment on Raw, indicative of how poorly new stars have been built? It absolutely is. I said this to someone last night. It's pretty fucking sad that the highlight of Raw was 2 guys who have not been active competitors in close to a decade. That's pretty sad. Pretty sad. And I love the Shield and all, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can have stars of the show that aren't from 10 years ago, from 10, 20 years ago. The Shield can be big stars, and they are big stars. Braun can be a big star, but when you turn him heel for no real reason, there's a problem there. So, yeah, that is it's a real indictment on how they build their new stars. And whenever someone is on the cusp of superstardom, they rip the rug right from underneath them. Look no further than, like I said, Braun Strowman. Or really like Bayley and Banks. They are so underutilized right now. I love Ronda Rousey, but start focusing on Banks and Bayley before you start giving the fucking Bella Twins a match on Raw, which sucked. Their match sucked. I'm sorry. It was not good at all. And his last question here is the aggressive promotion for overseas events, that being the Greatest Royal Rumble and Super Showdown, devaluing standard pay-per-views. No, but I think the big issue right now is that they have too much shit to focus on. Focus on one show and get to the other stuff later. There is no reason why they need to announce the entire card for Super Showdown before Hell in a Cell. Why the fuck did they announce the New Day versus The Bar for the SmackDown Tag Titles at Super Showdown a week before the fucking Bar faced Rusev Day in a number one contenders match for the SmackDown Tag Titles on Tuesday of next week? That's just stupid. That's fucking stupid. They did it right after SmackDown last week. What, you can't wait a week? Oh, I'm going to buy my tickets now for Super Showdown because the Bar and New Day's on the card. Like, it's like some of the things they do, it really just makes me scratch my head. Like, what was the thought process here? Again, SmackDown does a better job of it, but like with Raw, they're too busy focusing on it. Here's Evolution, here's Hell in a Cell, here's Super Showdown, here's Mixed Match Challenge, here's my fucking grandma's ass. Like, all this other dumb shit. Like, focus on one thing at a time. I'm sorry for the grandma's ass visual. That was probably not necessary, but like, the point being, the Evolution Super Showdown stuff is not for another month and a half. Focus on making Hell in a Cell a compelling show. That's why the Raw side of the Hell in a Cell card looks fucking shit on paper. Braun and Roman, with Braun as a heel, does nothing for me. Ronda and Alexa Bliss has been good. I doubt it's going to be any different than the match was at Hell in a Cell. Baron Corbin and Finn Balor will likely be added. I could not give two shits. What else is there? There's no Raw tag title match currently. I don't know. SmackDown has some great matches. Daniel Bryan and Brie versus Miz and Maurice won't be a barn burner, but they built it up really well on SmackDown. Joe and AJ should be great. Charlotte and Becky should be great. Orton and Hardy should be really, really good. I have no doubt SmackDown's going to have a great night at the pay-per-view. Raw, I have my doubts. But yeah, the fact that it's not for the build for the overseas pay-per-views taking away from their standard pay-per-views, because even when they don't have the overseas shows, their standard pay-per-views usually suck anyway. They're usually not that good. Like I said earlier with All In, it was better than any other WWE pay-per-view I've seen this year. SummerSlam was good. The Money in the Bank was good when I was there. Extreme Rules was terrible. Extreme Rules was fucking awful. Backlash was fucking awful. Fastlane, Elimination Chamber were good. Not great, they were good. Royal Rumble, pretty good. WrestleMania, pretty good. That's about it. Really no other standout shows from WWE in 2018. That's pretty sad. We're in the month of September and you can't name one like truly great pay-per-view. It's pretty bad. And I don't think bringing the overseas shows, it's cool they're airing it on the network and all. I think that'd be more of an outrage if they didn't. But this shit is glorified house show stuff. They don't have to focus on it as much as they are. It's like, I appreciate the build for it and everything, but it's like, I don't care. I really don't. I really don't care about Super Showdown or the Greatest Royal Rumble. I really don't, because it won't affect anything. We had one. Did we have any title changes at all in Saudi Arabia? I don't think so. Just the Greatest Royal Rumble Championship, which ended right back up in the fucking garbage when Braun was done with it the next day. I really don't see the point of those pay-per-views. I really don't. Like, I know they want to boost their exposure in those countries, in Saudi Arabia and Australia. They're going back to Saudi Arabia later this year. I don't care. That show sucked. Hopefully Super Showdown is better. Anyway, guys, that does it for episode 249 of #AskGSM here today. Thank you guys for your support of the show. Clocking in at just about an hour. Easily the longest episode I think I've done in a while. Usually I'm on a quick, time leash. Not today. I have no work, Nothing going on for the most part, just school stuff and a few other things. But yeah, I don't have to get done as quickly as they usually do, which is cool. But anyway, guys, if you want to tune into the show every single week, you can do so right here on YouTube. If you want to send in a question, you could tweet me on the Twitter machine with your question at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment or your question on the post that I usually put on the page every single Tuesday night, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question down below on this very video. Be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, we got episode 250 right here of hashtag next week. It won't be anything big. Don't expect anything big. It won't be live or anything. I don't have the time for that. I got something going on next Wednesday. The episode will be up. It just won't be live. So just to give you a heads up. But 250, thank you guys for all the support of the show. I would have never made it this far if you guys weren't listening, leaving feedback, bringing in your questions first and foremost, all that other great shit. It's been awesome. Thank you guys for being so awesome to hashtag. And here's to another 250 episodes more. So with all that being said, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.